Evening, Stuart. Hi, David, Mr. Weeks, how are you? Oh, yeah. Oh, you've gone back to, cause we had this a long time ago, didn't we? What was it? What did I call you? A Zoom tart. Oh, aren't they? What are they actually doing? Okay. It's all, yeah, it's obviously sponsorship and marketing deals and return on investment, all that stuff. So yeah, so probably the third party, but there we go. So, good evening, everybody. In tonight's Lightroom short, we're going to be looking at local adjustments. Last week we looked at just the masks, and this week we're going to look at the masks again, but very, very briefly. And we're going to add in adjustments and color range and luminosity, which we didn't look last week. So when we use the brush, we'll do some adjustments, local adjustments, so dodging and burning in the old darkroom days, and we will look at intersections, which is a great way of refining the mask. So without any further ado, let's share the screen. Okay, so which image shall I choose first? I think I'll choose this image here. So this is an image on a photo walk that I hosted a few years ago, so 2019. So I press D to take it into the develop module. The image is being reset. There we go, and we can see that the sky is quite light. It was a, let's have a look, press I for information. And it was taken on 31st of May. Actually, oh, look at that. What's that? 5 years ago in 2 days' time. So, the masking tool, top right hand corner underneath the histograms, the circle with the dots around it. And as we now have AI, it's going to detect people. So it's now scanning the image. There's 5 people in there, and you'll get 5 individual masks. And there we go. If these people are face ID'd, rather than saying person 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, so if they were in my face ID, it would come up with their name. And as you can see, I can hover over them, and that's the mask, if I select it, of the person. But we're going to start with the sky first, so I'm going to hit the sky auto mask or AI mask, and it's selected the sky. But we can see we've got a little bit of halo around here, so let's zoom in. Let me do that, so let's do it this way. No, it's not too bad actually. So, and again we can press O and it will change the overlay, but you can see here, if I zoom in a bit more, let's go to 200%. Let's, you can see if I press O, you see the red here. Let's change the colour to a black. Okay, and you can see it's now added on the actual roof, so it's not done a brilliant job. But what we can do is we can go, like we said last week, we can go subtract, or we can go with a brush. I'm going to use my, let's turn that off, I'm going to use my erase brush, and I'm just going to take away that part of the roof. Let's go a bit more, erase again, let's turn the overlay off, and where the minus, let's take the auto brush off, where the minus is, it's just going to take it away from that roof. Now I've got my flow and my density, so this is like the sensitivity, so I just turned it up, and again let's turn the overlay back on, and there you go. You can see now it's now taking it away from the area that I'm adjusting. Okay, and the harder I press, now you can see I've gone over it there. Okay, so I'm just taking it away because it hasn't made it brilliant enough. I want to go plus brush. I'm going to put the auto mask on. Wherever the plus is, as long as I don't go over the line inside the circle, and again I could go in further, so let's go 400%. Hold my space bar down, I can move the image, and wherever the plus is, as long as I don't go over the roof, the auto mask is going to go up to, because it's a different tonal value, as long as the plus does not go over the roof. Okay, and again I can go subtract, brush, and as long as the minus, the actual minus symbol, the tonal value inside the inner circle, so I'm just taking it away. So what I'm doing is I'm just tidying up the mask, holding the space bar down, and I'm just moving to make my brush a bit bigger now. So now I'm just going to go along here, and as long as the minus, because I'm on the erase side of it, press space bar, move along. As long as the minus does not go onto the sky, it's only on the white roof, then that'll be fine. Okay, so we've now done the mask. Okay, so let's come out. There's my mask. Let's look at some adjustments. So let's look at tonal value. Let's turn off the overlay. Let's bring the exposure down slightly, and it's just doing it on the sky. Okay, I'm going to set my black and white point. And all I'm doing is I'm getting a feel, an emotional feel of how I like the sky. So if I press J, that's my clipping tools, the same as the basic panel, but I'm only doing it to the sky. Okay? Only doing it to the sky. Alright? So I'm setting my black point, setting my white point, and I'm not doing this technically, I'm doing this aesthetically. How does it make me feel? How am I looking at it? And that's why I'm looking at 100%, because it's the whole sky. Okay, so my shadows, do I want to bring up my shadows? Do I want to bring shadows? Is the left hand side of the histogram, and I'm just doing the whole of the sky as a local adjustment, and I'm just dancing with the sliders to see how it makes me feel. Okay, now I've done that. I can name this. So I've double clicked on mask 1 and I call it sky, and that's my sky. Now I can go back to my masks and I can go to people. So let's go select people. There's my people. It's already selected the people, and I can start adjusting them. So it's selecting the first person, which is this lady here, and at the moment it's got the entire person. So now I create the mask. Okay, and it's created that mask, and I could just increase the brightness. But what I can do, so this is left lady, what I can do is I can go back to people. I can create a multiple mask. So 1, add a person, 2, add a person, 3, add a person, 4 person. Now I've added all the people to a mask. So I've now got all these people selected. It's detecting all their features. Do I want the whole person? Well, I do in this instance because it's the whole person. So I'm going to go create, and I've now got this one mask for everyone. Okay, and now I'm locally adjusting, but all the people. I'm just making them a little bit brighter. Now you can see here, I zoom in at 400%. Come down. You see I've got this blue part here. That's because I've crushed the blacks. It's because I've got my clipping mask on. If I press J, it disappears. If it'll be red, I've blown out the highlights. Okay, it's blue, it's a local adjustment, it's blacker than black. But actually, this is in the shadows of, this is a beehive, a pottery from the Roundhead days, and this bit is inside the building, so actually it's not a meaningful colour or a meaningful tonal of light. But I could just set my black point so I recover the data. So there we go, so it's not crushed now, and I could just increase the contrast a little bit on the people. Show me overlay. There's the overlay for all the people, and I've done that local adjustment on the people. This is the basic panel of the local people. Okay, same, I could do colour if I wanted to. I could increase the saturation, the colour of the people. Okay, so I'm now starting to locally develop the image. Now this green may not be in this instant too green. So let's go to my mask. I'm going to create a mask, and I'm going to go Object, Brush. Okay, because it's quite an unusual shape. It's a U shape. So I'm going to increase my brush, and I'm just going to loosely paint on the green. Okay, there you go, very loosely, and it's now going to subject select this green, and there we go. I can change the colour. Let's change it to a bluish colour, and there we go. And now if I turn around and say, right, okay, so this is the grass, so I'm going to rename it. There we go, so I've renamed the grass. Okay, and I could change the colour. So let's press O, turn the overlay off. Okay, and now let's bring the exposure down very slightly, but then I'm going to change my colour. I'm going to desaturate it so it's a little bit darker. Remembering your eye goes to the brightest part of the image, the colour red, and what's in focus in a photograph. So I've taken my eye away from the grass. Let's now go back to the people. The people are what I'm photographing. I'm going to go back to my tonal value, and I'm going to increase the exposure slightly on the people. Okay, so my eye's drawn to them. Now the great thing about the AI and masking is we have this, I didn't rename this, so we're going to rename this to people. I've got these people masks, so these 5 ladies. What I can do is on the people mask, if I hit on the 3 dots, I can duplicate and invert in one click the mask. So what that's going to do is says, well, what is selected, I'm going to make another mask of what is selected, but then I'm going to flip it so it's everything that's not selected. So there we go, people inverted. So it's everything but. Now why will I do that? Well, the easiest answer is I want to bring down the global exposure excluding the people. Okay, and there we go. I've just brought it down 1/3 of a stop, and I've brought the blacks down slightly. Now I'm going to go back to the people, and I'm just going to bring the people up very, very slightly. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to turn off my masks. Press O to hide my overlay, press J to hold that. So now I'm starting to get the effect that I want locally. It was a summer's evening. Okay, that's what I started with. That's where I've gotten to. It's a style that I may or may not like. Okay, that's where I started. That's where I'm now at. And I've done this all by local adjustments. So let's go to another image. So let's have a look at this image here. This is another really old image, 2011. And what we want to now do is we're going to look at, when it loads, there we go, we're going to look at the sky again. So I select sky. And it's done a pretty good job. So let's just bring down the exposure. Let's hit some contrast in it. Bring down the black slightly, let's get a bit more contrast. Okay, so now we're going to look at the foreground. Okay, so I'm going to hit plus. Again, I didn't rename that, so we go sky. I'm going to go plus, and I'm going to go object selection. And this time I'm going to hit the square object, and I'm going to select all that area there. And I'm going to allow it to, oh, it's selected just the foreground. It didn't select the two hills and the forest. So let's add to that. I'm going to go object, and I'm going to go brush. So now I'm going to use brush, and where the plus is, I'm just going to draw over, and hopefully it will select. There we go, it's added the trees. I'm going to go plus again, object, and I'm just going to do this bit up here, and hopefully I'm going to create a mask for all of it. There we go, it's a bit there it hasn't done, so let's go there, object, brush, a bit there. And there we go. So now I've got a brush for all this line. But we can see we've got two different colours here. So if I turn the overlay off, we can see I've got this colour here and this darker colour here. And I can do an intersection. So I could actually say either in colour or tonal value. So this is foreground. Select the mask. I can do an intersection with an intersection mask of colour range or luminance range. The difference is one will take a colour, one will take a tonal value. So I'm going to try with the tonal value first, and there's a little pipette, and I'm going to say, right, let's take the darker value. Okay, and now it's just giving me a mask on the darker values. So now whatever I do, it's only to the darker values. Okay, I'm not affecting these lighter greens. Okay, and why we shoot raw is because we capture all the information. Now I'm just going to, I opened up the exposure, now I'm just going to open up the shadows. Okay. Now in the luminance range, we've got this gradient, like a gradient filter, and we can actually stretch to within this area. The mask is inside the little square. That is what's been affected, and I can actually manually adjust. Can you see? This part of the image is getting lighter and darker. What I'm doing is I'm manually adjusting the range, and I can stretch the range, so I'm adjusting the point and I'm stretching the range, the value of light that it's affecting. Where originally I used the pipette and I clicked on a point and said this point, this value of light, exclude, and now I can adjust it. So this is the whole range. So this is my darkest point, this is my lightest point, and now I can extend or reduce the range that whatever I wish it to affect. And there we go. Okay, so we can sit there and go, I can adjust my black point. So there's my black point, there's my white point, and it's just doing it on the mask. So it's a local adjustment. Bring some contrast into it. And away we go. Okay, and I haven't even looked at the tone curve or anything like that at the moment. Before, after, before, after. Not a brilliant sky yet. I'll do a lot more to the sky, and I'll do quite a bit around here. I'll do dehaze around here, but you can see where I'm going with this image. Okay, that's the luminance mask. Okay, anyone got any questions about that? So let's take this train. Another old image of mine, 2008, taken with a D2X, I think this one was, going to develop. Okay, perhaps it might be blown out. Yes, it's blown out a little bit in the sky, but let's see how the mask is going to cope with the skies, so the steam. So I'm going to go to brush, auto, and I'm going to paint on, and bear in mind it's painting a blue mask. Okay, and I've got auto mask switched on, and everywhere within the circle that the plus is adjusting, it's creating a mask. And again, I can change the colour of a mask to green if I wanted to, depending on what I was on. And now that's the mask, that's the area that I'm applying it to. I can bring my exposure down, and now I can bring my highlights down. Okay, I can increase my contrast. Let's make it a little bit. Let's bring my white point down. I'm telling Lightroom what white is. Okay, you can see it's getting a bit darker. Let's have a look at my contrast. Okay, so I'm now just bringing it, and this bit probably looks like it's burnt out, so I've lost this bit here. But I could clone it, etc., and bring in some smoke. But I've got quite a bit of detail back there. Okay, and I could add or subtract from the mask. So if I go brush, erase, I could take this bit of the brush, the mask away. Okay, and I can just adjust. Same with the train itself. So if I go object selection, I'm going to go on the train itself, just draw on the train. Because it's AI, it's going to analyse what the train is. There we go. I can add to it if I wish. Add again. I'm just going to add the manual brush. Bring this, and then I'm just going to paint on this bit at the front. There we go. Wherever the cross is going, it's looking at the tonal value. It's going to add it to the brush. And now I'm just going to open up my shadows. Very, very simple. The AI tool has made it really, really easy for this, and I'm just rushing this. I would spend a lot of time doing this, dodging the burning, thinking about it, making different copies in virtual copies, and so on. So let's go back. Start 23 minutes past. So let's do this one in Lightroom. Okay, so I've synced this collection to the cloud, and just to show you it's exactly the same. There's the image. So there's the image. Let's hide the film strip. Let's go to the developer, and this will be on the web, would be on an iPad, an iPhone, or anything like this, and this is exactly the same. Okay, so we go to the round circle tool, brings out our mask, so we go to sky, it's going to select the sky. Okay, and because this is in the cloud, top left hand corner, it's in the cloud, it's a collection that I've synced, we're using Adobe's computer, not my computer. Okay, so we've got an amount slider, so how much of the effect am I going to apply? Let's bring down the exposure slightly. Let's bring down the shadows, make the whites a bit pump. Now let's change the colour. Let's make it a bit warmer. Bring up some saturation, change to add some blue. Okay, or perhaps I might want to add some other colour to it if I wish. Okay, perhaps I want to add some clarity, some dehaze, bring some mood into it, some texture. Okay, I can add another mask. Again, I can rename these if I wish. So I click on mask, sky. So it's exactly the same workflow. Linear gradient, click on the corner like we did last week, bring down the exposure of that corner. I want you to look towards the tents. Okay, so I'm taking your eye away from the right hand corner. Okay, put in a radial mask. I want you to look here. This is where I want you to look. So I'm going to take the exposure up. I'm now going to duplicate and invert. So now it's going to duplicate that, and everything outside it I'm now going to bring down. So your eye now is now looking at this. Okay. So there we go. Very, very powerful. Hi Jay, how you doing? Very, very powerful. I've shown you very, very quick ways to local adjust, edit your parts of your image, and what you can do is you can really start playing with virtual copies. So on a Monday night after the recess, we will start looking at creating a base copy, and then creating virtual copies from that you can take your image off to a particular style. You might have like in the old days with film, you'd shoot with Kodachrome, that was really vibrant colours, or you might have a style of street photography, you only shoot in black and white. So you can take your colour images that you shoot in RAW, but process them without affecting the original base edit, so getting the horizon straight and your black and your white point and the exposure right and so on. You then stylize it into your black and white, and then you start looking at local adjustments. So there we go, very quick half an hour of how you can, different ways, and there's not one way of doing it. It's learning what the tools do, how you can use those tools to your advantage. And some images will be, I do it this way, and some images you'll do it that way. Either the technology's better at it than you are, or I am, or whatever, or it doesn't do what you want to do with that style of image. And remember, when you use an AI mask, it's the mask that moves when you copy it to another image. The mask will move. So let's say I took a picture here, then I took a picture here, and I took a picture here. All the structure changes, but I want the edits to be the same. With an AI mask, only an AI mask, not a manual mask. So if you drew with the brush yourself, that would stay the same. But if you use the object brush or the object selection tool or any of the AI masks, it will look at the physical area, the tones, the contrasts, the colors and so on, and it will build the mask for you, even though that view and that view has changed, and the building, the trees, they're all different shapes. The mask will change, but the edits will be the same. Okay, that's why we use the AI masks, because they're better at doing that. Anyone, any questions? No? Well, I hope that's been of help. Yeah. So Monday we're looking at the book module to our community. I have got a workshop coming up about book module, and we'll look at alternatives to using the book module, and we'll look at creating a flip book as well in the workshop. So that might be something of interest to people. So, but Monday we'll be looking at the book module, and next week, what are we looking at next week? Next week we are looking at bad habits. Bad habits and I'll finish the question in Lightroom and Lightroom Classic. So it doesn't mean throwing your socks over there and not in the laundry bin. So next week is bad habits. So and we all get into it, and I get into it. It's called being lazy. I get into it. Like for example with those masks. I get lazy, and I know what that is, and so on. And I kick myself, because when you start syncing masks, you want to know, well, what's that mask and what's that edit when you get to the next picture. So whether you use auto syncing or you sync them manually, if you label them, when you go to the next image, you know what mask is on, because the content changes when you sync the images. Let's say you're moving, street photography or whatever, but the light's the same. You want to know what the mask is. So little things like that, bad habit. Okay. Lovely to see you all. The recording will be up on my YouTube channel tomorrow or Friday, and the email will go out on the email list on Friday, just a reminder of things are done. And if you've got a Lightroom question, just drop me an email. And I do on Tuesday, I do a post answering somebody's question. Okay, Lovely. See you all. Take care. Bye.